Welcome back to more discussions about universal basic income. This time we're going to be talking about how much do you actually give? How much money do you give people in a UBI? How much is efficient? How much can we afford? And perhaps a better question, how much do people need? So, in a UBI, how much do you want to set it at? Well, some people think that you want to set it relatively low to keep up work ethic. We covered that in the previous video. There's really no significant change in how much some people work. Sometimes certain professions actually work more. Say you've got a plumber or a mechanic. They're likely to actually get more work under a UBI. Because often, if the car still turns on, gets from point A to point B, the repair can wait. If the sink in one room doesn't drain, but all the other sinks do, it can wait. Similarly with other house repairs, sometimes with other general things that are needed around the home. So back to that whole putting money in everybody's hands increases money spent. You want down there? Okay. So, what is it estimated by most experts and institutions that we should set a basic income at? Well, there's some arguments. Most of the time they boil down to between 5 to 10% either side of the poverty line. That way, you're not giving so much that it makes people less likely to work, but you're giving enough to pay for most of the basics so that the work people do can be put toward more enriching things. Things that they want to do, things that are socially useful, rather than just the most financially expedient thing that they could possibly begin with. So, what is one of the levels that UBI usually gets to with those numbers? Because that's a great big fat range. If you really look at that, that's a 20% range. How much different can that be? The answer is really not that much. Which is why a lot of the time, UBI studies have oriented right around $12,000. Why? Because it's based off of the American poverty line. Yes, I know you don't like me filming, I'm sorry. But, what does that really translate for a person? What is $12,000? It sounds like a lot, but that's in a whole year. That's $1,000 in a month. Does that really still sound like a lot? It probably does, being as it was found that most American homes can't actually handle a $400 to $500 emergency. Most of them simply don't have that. If it had to be done right then, it would be a really big problem, which is really concerning, considering most economists want you to have a bare minimum of a month's worth of money stocked away for emergencies. And to be relatively secure, they want you to have 3 to 6 months, depending on which one you ask. So how much money is that really? Well, I'm going to get more into that when I tackle the welfare system, with a whole bunch of salt included. So, $1,000 a month. Well, assuming a month is 30 days, that's roughly $33 a day. Typically per adult per household. So, $33. $33 a day to exist. Okay, that sounds pretty fair, right? That sounds pretty decent. You can at least feed yourself for $33 a day, right? Well, maybe. It's a great big maybe. Cause that $33 a day, well, first it's gonna have to pay for your housing. Most people's housing is at minimum $600, which is gonna eat 20 of that a day, and that's without your utilities or your transport cost or a whole lot of anything else. So probably looking at that other $10 just evaporating, leaving you with around $3 a day. Maybe say your utilities and your transport cost and any medical bills you have or medicines you take daily don't add up to a full $10 a day. You're still not looking at much to even eat on. I mean, I suppose this will handle water, if water's the only thing that you want. Might be able to get some rice. I'm okay with that. Rice is like my favorite food. Maybe some fresh fruit now and then. Save up for a couple of days. Okay. So that seems pretty extreme. It's not going to help any one person who's just trying to survive by themselves and house and take care of all their needs as a single person in a household. Say you have 2 people in a household. Well, so you cut things down to a half. So that $600 we set aside for whatever housing, which I know is still a laughably small number, just go with me on that. So it's down to $10. Okay. So then, going off of those same estimates, we're going to assume that your assorted medications, transport, any doctor's visits you might need, all of your utilities might be another 10, so we'll go ahead and set the 20 out of there again. So maybe if you're looking really, really good, you might end up with 13 for each of you a day with just 2 of you. But mercy forbid you have kids, because, I mean, are you going to feed your kids on just a couple of dollars? Even assuming that you turn this into 26 to feed you and your partner and any children or animals you happen to have, like this little brat who just wants to be in the video so bad. So bad. So, really, it's not that much money. Not when you really take it apart and look at it. So, how does a UBI that's that small help? Well, most people who will receive the UBI are either in such desperate need that they don't have housing, or they have a job. It's really that simple. Most people who will receive the UBI have a job. A lot of them in a household will probably have 2 jobs and then getting $2,000 extra. That is world-changing. That is well and truly life-changing. That might actually be enough to afford to have a child on. That might make the difference in your child being able to go to a decent school, be it for higher education or otherwise. It might simply be the difference in being able to go and get that lump checked that you've been putting off, or buy that new bed to replace the threadbare, spring-worn one that you've been sleeping on. Okay, so what does it do for the slightly better off families that have most of those needs taken care of? They have a more reliable, better job. Well, it opens new markets in their local environment. it brings new purchasers to their local area, which builds business and competition. And any quality of UBI, even one as low as $1,000, is going to accomplish that to some greater or lesser degree. As we saw mentioned in the last video about Alaska, they have a really small UBI that is only between 1,000 and 2,000 a year that they get in a big lump sum. And it started 10,000 additional jobs in the state. That doesn't sound like a lot, but let's just say Alaska is really cold and doesn't have that high of a population because lots of snow. I come from the desert. That's kind of intimidating. But, so, fine. Will it take $1,000? Still sounds really costly. How many numbers have really been done around that? Well, the good news is the vast majority of people who have done numbers for UBI have done it around the $1,000 a month estimate. Why? Well, 1, hits U.S. poverty line. 2, $1,000 is really easy to do a lot of math with, so it makes it a lot easier to run your automated studies with. And really, those are the biggest 2 reasons why you'll find a lot of studies referring to that. But it's a very sound place to put it at. And it actually exceeds the funds typically given by a lot of our current support nets, while not having all of the flaws of that, which I swear I'm not going to get to tonight, but possibly in the next set of videos. So, there's reasons why you'll see that number repeated. You'll actually see it repeated a lot in the links that I'm going to send because most of them will be America-oriented. And that's really all I've got for this one. I wanted to give a good solid visual of what $1,000 a month really looks like. $33 a day isn't exactly what it is when you get into the nitpicking of the numbers. But if you want a quick math and round it up and make it functional for everybody, that's what it comes to. So, all that said, all that put aside, I'll see y'all later.